Hi guys, welcome back to Vedic Astrology. Today we are going to be continuing our series where we've been talking about a lot of different houses across all 12 houses of the zodiac. Now we've done from 1 to 4 and today we're going to be talking about the fifth lord across all 12 houses. If you've not had a chance to watch my video, a brief 20-minute video that I had put up, I'll put a screenshot on the screen here as well, where I defined the attributes or parameters, elements of different houses. Please do check that out. If you are a newbie in Vedic astrology, I think it's going to be very helpful. But if you understand, we will quickly try and understand what is the meaning of the fifth house. Now, in most of my videos, you would have noticed that I mentioned that fifth house denotes your education, primarily your degree from the college or graduation or post graduation sort of degrees that you get uh, after completing your courses. It also denotes any kind of creativity that you bring to the table. Fifth house is a representation of your kids, your children. It's a house of romance as well. And that is where you kind of connected with creativity too. Fifth house also denotes your stock trading or speculative investment strategies. So if you see, whilst all these areas I've been covering in the last few videos, but I wanted to specifically call out that fifth house also represents your punya, accumulation of punya. For people who do not understand that, it is essentially the karmic uh, assets that you're carrying from your past lives. As per Hindu religion, we take reincarnation. So, in this birth, you are carrying the good or the bad karma, which is also represented in your fifth house itself. Fifth house is also a part of the Dharma Trikon or the trine, which is 159, which means that it denotes all your principles, your moralities, the good or the bad that you're supposed to do in this life. So, what happens when the Lord of your fifth house traverses across the zodiac? Now, before we jump into that, I would also suggest that you can check out here the lords which are represented for various ascendants. So, for example, if you're an Aries ascendant, your fifth lord would be Sun because that is represented in the Leo sign. Similarly, if you are a Scorpio ascendant, your fifth lord will be Pisces, which is depicted with Jupiter. All right. So I hope this gives you an understanding as to, based on your ascendant, what is the fifth lord. Now, quickly jumping and trying to understand that what it means when fifth lord moves into the first house. First house is the representation of yourself. It's a representation of your principles, your physical self, your health, your well-being, your mind. It is a representation of what you are going to do in this life. It is also a part of the Dharma Trikon itself. As I just mentioned before, 159. So when the fifth lord goes 9 places away from itself, Dharma Trikon lord is going into the house of Dharma in the ninth movement itself. It is a very auspicious connection. It is a Raj Yoga in itself because a trine house is getting connected with a Kendra house. A Lakshmi Narayan Raj Yoga is formed when the fifth lord is moving into the first house. So all the attributes of fifth house get carried into the first house itself, which means that you would be carrying that past life punya in your life. You will be blessed in terms of whatever you want to achieve. It's the most auspicious way to look at it. You've done some great karma in your past life and you're carrying that karma, that asset in this life as well. And no matter what planet be there, that positivity is going to stick around with you. It also means that you would be a very creative person at heart. You would have deep interest in vocational, artistic, creative skills. You could be a good singer, very expressive in terms of your communication, very strong in terms of any skills that you might want to acquire, like acting or anything that you can think of. That creativity, that that skill automatically resides in you. It's very native within you, so to speak. It also means that you would have a tendency, and not everything will fit into each individual, so you'll have to understand and see that what is fitting in your life. So it would also mean that some of you might find that your children, your kids, are very much like you. They follow the same belief, same principles, same profession at times. They are very, very aligned in their thought process in terms of the upbringing that you're giving to them. Their education could also be in line to what you are following. Since I've touched the topic of education, I would want to call out that this also might indicate that you might be an extremely good learner. Of course, there is a high probability of you acquiring high, good quality degrees, but the learning ability to acquire new skills. See, not everybody is born as a singer or born as an actor. You might have that talent natively within you, but you will acquire those skills as well, and you will be a very fast learner, so to speak. We all tend to put that in our CVs, right? People with the fifth lord in the first house are actually going to be depicting that in their lives. You are going to, there is a very high possibility that you could bring speculative skills uh, very naturally to yourself, which means that stock trading, investment strategies, they come very naturally to you. And not just stock trading, investment strategy in itself might come very naturally to you. Say you want to invest in real estate, you would be able to make the right predictions as to what kind of market would take a jump or a hit at what period of time. That is a very intrinsic ability within you guys. Of course, education is a core focus. While learning is something that comes intuitively to you, you will be focused towards getting good quality education. People with this placement are also very soft spoken, very very sweet spoken people, so to speak, very mannered, cultured, and they know how to express with the right choice of words when they are communicating themselves. So I hope this gives you an understanding. Now, if I've been typically giving examples as to what could be the negative aspects as well, but in this case, I do not anticipate much negativity. The only risk that happens is that in case you have any malefics, it could potentially create situations where you have tussles with your children. But remember, those tussles would also be related to dharma, to principles. They could have very strong principles like you. Differences of opinion might arrive. That's the only risk that I anticipate. You could be very, very romantic at heart as well, because that's another trait that you would carry within yourself. Moving on to the fifth lord in the second house. Now, what does second house represent? Second house talks about your family. It talks about the food, the family culture, the upbringing. It denotes your communication. It denotes your savings, your bank balances. This is another good connection coming into play. Why? Because dharma trikon is connecting with the earth. Now, what happens here is that you will be bringing in your creativity in the way you are communicating. Singers could potentially be seen, or mimicry artists, people who have skills that leverage their voice, their throat, could be extensively seen with this kind of a placement. You would find that your your thought process or your upbringing will be in a very cultured family. It would be there will be a specific nuance in terms of culture of your family itself. Like every family has a tradition and stuff, but there will be certain things that you guys would try to follow. Like on Sundays it could be churches or visiting temples or something of that sort. That connection of spirituality with a family bonding is going to come into play with this kind of a placement. You would have your education again would be inspired by the profession that is being undertaken by your parents, or rather your family. It is going to play a critical role. Your education is going to help you build the wealth over a period of time in this placement. I also see, other than the artistic professions that I'm talking about, the entire pop culture, singing and all that stuff, anything which is connected with respect to entertainment could also come into this sphere. People who are in the space of food business, restaurateurs, and not just restaurateurs. Actually, you may not be leveraging that for your business, but for a day-to-day life perspective, you would realize that even whilst you're cooking something as mundane as a lasagna or a dosa, or whatever cuisine or whatever food you love, you are going to bring in some kind of a personal touch in how you express that entire hobby. That can also be seen. Now remember, when the fifth lord is moving into the second house, it is moving 10 places away from itself. I would not say that this is a negative connotation, but your karma in a tough situation could be drained towards your family. Like your entire energy, your entire uh, being will be devoted towards carrying your family legacy. That is also a possibility. It's like carrying that responsibility on your shoulder, even when sometimes you do not want to do that. So, a lot of times we see that there is a lineage of people following similar profession, like politicians or doctors or lawyers within our families. And your education could be forced in that direction. That could be a negative connotation that might be coming into play, yet it will be fruitful and helpful for you in the long run. So I do not see much of a trouble in this placement, but yes, that is the only caveat that I wanted to point out. You could actually be, again, leveraging your stock trading skills to multiply the wealth of your family. Like you would have that immaculate sense of taking a percentage away of the wealth of your family and then multiplying it through your creative strategies. That's another positive way to look at it. Now we will talk about the fifth lord moving into the third house. Third house is the representation of our hobbies, our neighbors, our hard work. It's a representation of our siblings, younger siblings, short distance travels that you would be undertaking in life. So when the fifth lord moves into the third house, what happens is that there is a very enterprising behavior that comes into play. You are sharp minded folks who've who going to be using their education, their skills, their creativity in your hard work to build something huge sooner or later in life. I'm not saying if it is it's not happened for you today, it will not happen ever. No, there is a very strong possibility that you're going to be doing that. You're going to be bringing this entire mindset in terms of your profession as well. It could be related to tourism, or you could plan short vacations in very scenic, beautiful locations which are kind of undiscovered, right? Your idea of taking vacation will be in undiscovered, unseen, unfound locations. And I see on Instagram these days so many people traveling to these places which are in remote interior locations. That kind of attribute would be there in you. When you want to take vacation, you want to explore something of that sort, away from the hustle and the bustle. Your education is going to bring success to you, because see, this connection is 11 places away. Your wish fulfillment in your life, the gains that you get in your life, the positivity that you derive, is all going to be driven based on your education and your own creativity. I see a lot of investment banking, commodity trading, those kind of things also coming in this kind of a structure where the fifth lord is in the third house. From your kids' perspective, there is a possibility that The real growth in your life might take in when your kids are born. I've told this in the seventh house relationship in my previous videos as well, that sometimes people see a change in their luck once they get married. In this case, birth of children could result into, a sudden growth in your life. But you also have to remember that if your fifth lord in the third house is afflicted with, a Rahu or a Ketu or a Mars or a Saturn, especially Saturn, or a Ketu kind of a planet, then there could be risks with respect to, the progeny or conception of your kids. There could be certain problems that you might face from that aspect as well. You are going to be a very sound advisor to your siblings. You are going to play a very critical role in terms of enabling their growth as well. In a tricky situation, it is also possible that your siblings could actually have a better life, better financial or spiritual growth when compared to yourself. Now it of course depends on, the entire chart, and we have to see more things, and that's why I'm saying tricky, because it's not a bad thing, right? Your brother or your sister is doing better than you. It's a great thing. You might be proud of the same. The immediate example comes to my mind is Sachin Tendulkar's elder brother. Nobody knew his name. He devoted his life to help his brother grow and achieve the material success and whatnot. Right? So that kind of element, you could be the shining north star in their life, who's the torch bearer, helping them grow. That is also a possibility. You could all and see, more or less in the first four houses, the fifth lord movement in this portion is going to be very positive. There are more positives than negatives, unless and until it's a negative planet or a negative affliction. So from a hobbies perspective as well, your hobbies are going to be, more so related to writing or communication. You could be, on social media, on an Instagram or on YouTube, and find success through that route as well. That connection for social media is also seen with a linkage of fifth to the third. So if any one of you is in, having that placement and is aspiring to, explore that space, you should actually think about it. There are no major issues that I anticipate, other than, a potential risk of laziness coming into play, lack of hard work coming into play when there are certain afflictions. That could be a tricky place. Now, when the fifth lord is moving into the fourth house, again, it's a Kendra and Trikon connection, a trine to Kendra connection, which means it's a Raj Yoga in itself. Of course, the fifth lord is going 12 places away from itself. So we do talk about the elements of 12th coming into play, but what does fourth house represent? It represents your mother, it represents your peace of mind, your emotional state. It represents the assets, your vehicle, your factory, your house, your property, whatever you can think of. Your intellectual property, your soft assets. All of that is represented with the fourth house itself. So when your fifth lord, you see how beautiful this connection is going to be. Your fifth lord, which is dharma trikon lord, coming into the moksha, into the peace space, means that you are going to bring all those energies. Very naturally, you are going to be a peace loving person, kind hearted. You don't want to mess with people unnecessarily. You want to live and let live. It's a beautiful thing to have. You would have tendencies where you would always prioritize the collective, cumulative happiness of the mass as well. That would give you satisfaction. So you will bring a lot of good karma in your actions. It also means that you will use your education, your smartness, your street smartness, your creativity, your varied thinking process in terms of expanding your assets. This means that in a positive light, you could be an owner of humongous assets over the course of your lifetime. You could build large properties, own multiple vehicles. You could actually create intellectual property. People who write patents will have this kind of a connection as well in their chart. You would be very dedicated, very driven to serve. That servitude attitude would be there towards your mother. Your emotional state of mind would also have this kind of a positivity in you. That And it's just not about your emotional state of mind, it's all around yourself. Because see, when your fifth lord is going to come in the fourth house, it's going to be aspecting your house of karma as well. So your intent, your karma would also be something of dharma, and karma are getting connected in a kendra. So it's a beautiful placement. The riskier or the trickier situation is, and we have to take that into account, that the fifth lord is going 12 places away from itself. This is where you could anticipate that, and it's not a negative thing to begin with, but it is like you are going to leverage your skills, your education, your qualification towards your gains, towards building your asset. So imagine you market yourself, an architect who's studied from a premier college would market his degree and say that this kind of a contractor is the architect of XYZ real estate project. So it's kind of a show off, leveraging your dharma lord into building your own asset. But yes, that is one way to look at it. The other possibility is that either there could be a loss or delay in the birth of your kids. It could also mean, and when I say loss, it might mean with respect to your progeny or conceiving, or they acquire the education and then they move away from you. They live separate from you. There could be a difference of opinion as well, because the emotion, the mind is getting connected, and there is a 12th angle to that. That's a very definite possibility. From a kid's standpoint, loss of romance, failure in love is also seen with this. So it is possible that you might fall in love with somebody and it might not transpire into culmination of marriage, or it is a one-sided affair, or it is something that there is some kind of disagreement, loss of that romance happens in your life. It's an unfortunate situation to have, but yes, that's a definite possibility in a negative scenario. You might want to see other placements and see that if there's any connection happening with the seventh or not, to arrive at a fair conclusion. It could also mean that that your your speculative attitude could bring loss in your property or loss in your assets. But again, that is not something that's going to definitely happen. You have to understand your dashas and antardashas. But I hope you're getting a drift and understanding as to how this could shape for you. Now we will talk about the fifth lord in its own house, in the fifth house itself. As I've been telling in the entire series, this is one of the best placement or situations to be in. Even malefics tend to do well in this kind of a scenario. So first and foremost, you will have again, like fifth in first, as I mentioned, fifth in fifth would mean that creativity would come naturally to you. You are bound to have either your profession or just your hobby interest into everything related to arts, music, fine arts, vocational skills, crafts, stuff like that. You could be a natural trader. It's going to be so very obvious in your case, because you are going to you will have a very natural understanding. It kind of glides into how you approach at things. Your education would be top notch. Your kids will be very very aligned with you. Romance could see a lot of success in your life. That could be again positive in whatever way you look at it. More importantly, your, and when I mentioned success from stocks and stuff, gains from that, because fifth lord is sitting in its own sign and aspecting the 11th, any kind of wish fulfillment would naturally happen for you. And the most amazing part is, you would not be wishing for anything crazy. You will be a very, very principled person, so to speak. So, those, all those morally good qualities, that ethical behavior in your conduct, even in your profession, you're going to be extremely ethical, straightforward, direct, soft, yet firm. Those are the kind of attributes you're going to be carrying. Of course, with the placement of each planet, Sun versus a Saturn versus a Mars, there will be change in behaviors, because those planets are going to bring their energies into play as well. Yet, your conduct will be conducive and in alignment to the energies. You are carrying the past life karma, past life punya into the same house. Makes you very, very spiritual, and you continue to carry on that legacy in a way. So I think this is one of the coolest things that could happen in your chart, and especially it's like a Lakshmi owner within the Lakshmi sign. It's a very good dhan yoga. So there's a very, very strong possibility of you accumulating good amount of wealth over your lifetime. Now, when the fifth lord is moving into the sixth house, it is going second to itself, but it is going into the tough sixth house. What is sixth house? Sixth house is the representation of all kind of obstacles. It is the challenges that have been determined for us in this lifetime. It is a representation of hospitalization, loans, mortgages, debts, enemies, uh, any kind of problems that you could imagine. Litigation is seen from the sixth house itself. Now, when the Dharma Lord, when the fifth Lord is moving into the sixth house, what happens is that your creativity or your smartness goes into the attributes to solve all these things. Which means that, sixth house is, for example, representation of competition as well. You could use your sharp mind, your shrewdness to address your competition, to beat your competition. But you will have continuous competition in your life. Unstoppable, relentless competition coming your way. And you keep fighting your battles. Kar har maidan fateh. That is a kind of connection is seen when the fifth lord is moving into the sixth. It's also a situation where you could pick up profession, say in the space of banking, be an attorney, a lawyer, even immigration lawyers could be seen from this. In the field of medicine, nursing, all those things can be seen when your fifth lord is in the sixth house. Even people with astrological bent of mind, occult sciences, could also be seen through this placement, especially when it comes to tantra knowledge, the tantrics and stuff. That kind of stuff is going to be seen with the fifth lord coming into the sixth house. But irrespective of what you do, irrespective of all the positivity, remember second and seventh movements are the Marka Sthan. Plus, it is going in the sixth house, in a tough house. So, challenges are bound to be there. Obstacles are bound to be there. You might take a principled route when you are facing a litigation. You could see challenges with respect to your kids as well. Or your kids could be finding obstacles in terms of their education, in terms of their health concerns. They might not be as fit as you are, not as healthy as you are. That is also a possibility. You could see that when the fifth lord is in the sixth, then uh, your past energy is consumed into battles, which means that there is some kind of negative karma that you accumulated during those past lives, and it is now reflecting here. I'm reminded of a very interesting story. Dhritarashtra, who was the father of Kauravas, he had once asked Krishna that I have never committed any sin. And then why am I blind? Why am I facing all these problems? All I ever wanted to be a good king or a good ruler or whatever. And I'm physically strong. I have all the traits, attributes, knowledge, education to be a king. But why did I face this? And king Krishna gives some answer that these many lives before you had harmed certain pigeons or birds, and that is why that sin is being carried with you, and you had to bear this problem in this life. You were born blind. So that sort of a situation, some kind of health issue that is right from your birth or you acquire during this lifetime is seen through this as well. So I wanted to give that longer story just so that you can understand that why did it happen, so you can connect the dots there. It's a marka, so you have to be careful as well. And I think in this situation, if a malefic planet is coming and sitting in the sixth house, it is a better situation to be in when compared to a benefic. Or if somehow the 6, 8, 12 connection is happening in terms of Vipreet Rajyog, that could be a savior as well. But guys, remember, even when Vipreet Rajyog comes into picture, we still have to go through the tough phase before the good time arrives. So that's something that you have to be cognizant of. Now when the fifth lord moves into the seventh house, it is moving 3 places away from itself. So if you see, seventh house is again a Kendra house. So the connection of dharma house is happening with a Kam house. So the first and foremost thing that comes even to your mind is that romance is getting connected with your life partner, with your marriage. So there is a very, very strong possibility of you guys culminating your love affair, your romantic life into marriage. You could have love marriage written or promised in your birth chart. There's a very strong possibility of this happening. Unless, of course, there is an affliction from a Shani, Saturn, Ketu, Rahu or Ketu themselves sitting in the seventh house itself, or the seventh lord, 12th to itself, and then creating situations for divorce and stuff. But very, very high probability that you will find your own partner, have a full-blown affair, and then that will transpire into marriage. Or you could be at least in courtship and deciding who your partner for life would be. Very strong possibility with this happening. And a lot of people who've done my personal readings, they've acknowledged when I've given this kind of feedback, or during my live sessions as well. So you've seen that, which I do over the weekends. The other thing is that from a seventh house perspective, you see business partnerships, you see your spouse, you see the outside world, you see the masses, you see the business collaboration. So your creativity, your nuances in terms of trying to see, the third part is the effort, the hard work that you're going to be putting in towards all the elements of seventh, towards making your partner happy, towards making your business partners happy, is going to be absolutely critical and is going to be seen from this placement. You are going to see a lot of professional business success. I'm not talking about jobs. I'm talking specifically about being self-employed or running an enterprise, a small business for yourself. You could see success and growth. The enterprising nature, like I was mentioning, fifth in third, same way fifth in seventh would also have in play. Because you see, fifth is going 11 places away into third, and third is 3 places from third, 3 places away is the fifth house. Same way, from seventh, it is 11 places away, and third places away from itself is the seventh house. You see how the connection can be seen, and how the possibilities are very similar in terms of that behavior, that enterprising nature comes into play here. You guys are going to be very, very principled in terms of your business dealings. You are going to be very principled with your partner as well. You would want to follow a certain code of conduct, and you would expect them to stick with it. You would not take a short route no matter what. If a particular deal can be done by under the table means, or by doing something or the other hanky panky, you would never pick that route. You would always want to stick in terms of doing it the right way. So in all, it's a decent connection. The trickier part is that because it is third, all the energy is getting wasted into this. So in a bad situation, when there are afflictions, wrong planets in place, then what you realize is all your hard work, all your past life punya is getting consumed into your partner, into the efforts of the seventh house itself. And that could be problematic. You could be obsessed with respect to physical relationships and stuff. That is another challenge that could come into play, or might give you an inclination towards having multiple affairs when the fifth lord is in the seventh house. I hope this makes sense. Now, when the fifth lord is moving into the eighth house, it is going four places away from itself. It's a good movement, but it's in a tough house, it's in a tricky house. What does the eighth house represent? Eighth house is everything which is hidden, surprising, unknown, that you cannot think of. Suddenness is seen from the eighth house. It is the house of longevity as well. It's a tough house, as we all know, like 6, 8, 12 are considered to be the toughest houses. And when the fifth lord, Dharma lord, is going into the moksha of the eighth, it can have mixed results. Yes, most of the people that you would talk to will say it's a bad position, but like I've predicted before in one of my readings as well, that when the fifth lord is going into the eighth, it is moving four places away, means that if you use your creativity, say in stock trading, stock market, your knowledge in that space, you could see sudden profits or sudden losses. That is going to come into play, and big scale. Because like in trading, there are always gains and losses, right? But the point I'm trying to make is sudden, humongous windfall gains or windfall losses might come into play. People going bankrupt in a span of time, or you becoming millionaire in a matter of few weeks. That is the kind of impact you could see with this kind of a placement. It is the asset of the fifth house. Eighth house is the asset of the fifth house. So your longevity would definitely see a positive impact when the fifth lord is coming into the eighth house. That is, in my opinion, in my understanding, that is going to see a positive impact when this connection happens. It also means that there could be certain sudden traumatic situations for some of you with respect to your kids in terms of their health and their longevity. That's a tricky part, very tricky part. It could mean that you might use your smartness, your shrewdness into things that are not so good, like doing under the table work, asking money for favors. A lot of criminal activities could also be seen, or past life connection and having that experience could be seen with this placement. Because when we talk about eighth, while it's like there is the all the other attributes that I've talked about, the unknown could also represent the the criminal mindset, so to speak, which is hidden from the world. On a positive note, it could mean that you would devote all your energies, all your knowledge into researching into something which is extraordinarily great. That's a very positive sign. People who could devote years of their hard work into researching for some unknown, unpredictable diseases. Scientists, let's say the people who are solving problems for coronavirus, the entire COVID pandemic, you have the skill to do that, could be seen with a connection of the fifth lord coming into the eighth house. It could give a possibility of you making sudden gains through insurance means as well, which was unknown, but it is destined for you to happen. If this connection is there, there's a written destiny for you that you would make gains through this. I know someone in my family has had that. So that's a definite indicator. It's also a possibility that you might be you might not be very social as a being. You like to remain aloof. Your intrinsic nature would be to be or to be working under the shadows, not coming in the limelight, being at the back end of things, addressing the the dark web in the internet, which is not indexed by search engines. Things like that are also seen with this possibility. You could be very sharp with those kind of things. You could have the ability to research on drugs for both good and bad means. That's also a possibility. All in all, it's a very, very tricky situation, and it is very important. Please do not arrive into any kind of judgment that if I have this, uh, I'm good to do XYZ activity. No. I will highly recommend you to look into the other aspects. Is Jupiter aspecting somehow? Or any other benefic aspect? Maybe a Venus or a moon or a sun. Position of the 8th lord itself, dignity of the 8th lord itself becomes very critical in this placement. So you will have to analyze all those elements as well and figure out what would it mean for you. But again, from your assets perspective, there could be sudden change that might come into play. A crash in terms of your stocks can be seen. A hike or a raise in terms of your property could be seen with this connection as well. When the 5th lord is moving into the 9th house, now this is a dhan yoga in itself. The dharma trikon is getting a connection into the dharma trikon itself. What you would find here is that there's a very, very high probability of you pursuing your degree, your college education, your professional education far away from your birthland, most probably in a foreign country itself, in a foreign land, in a foreign culture. 9th house is a depiction of long distance travels. Your education could be through that. You could have a partner, a love affair with a person from a different culture. Your romance could be in that space. That's also a very strong possibility. It also indicates that many of you would have, again, that principled behavior, same as I was telling in 5 and 5. When 5 and 9 happens, you are spiritually, morally, ethically aligned with your father. Or even if that is not seen in your professional circle, you are aligned with the organization that you're working with your superiors, with your bosses, with the company culture. You would be the right fit in that organization, bringing every aligned element in your attributes to the culture of that organization. That's also seen from this connection itself. Remember, it is going 5 places away from itself. 5th lord, 5 places away from itself means bhavarth, bhavam is also going to come into play. Meaning that you are going to bring your creativity in creative pursuits, which is going to give you rise. And this could be, your assessment. Say you are inclined in mythology or religious studies. You will have the ability to grasp the learnings from holy scriptures in your own way. You will not lean on to some to the prescribed norms itself. You will have the ability to interpret it, assimilate it, and absorb it with your own mindset. You are carrying that punya with you. You will have a religious and a spiritual bent of mind. You could take pilgrimages, a lot of pilgrimages in your life. You could actually be born in a place which is considered to be a holy land. That's again a very, very strong possibility. Or have some sort of a connection in terms of taking frequent long trips to such places, pious places. You can also see your education in itself could be in the space of the spiritual realm. That is another way to look at it. Or you might have a dharma guru, a religious guru in your life. You will automatically attract that person, or that guru will find you. It is mutual, guys. It is mutual. Like a student needs a good teacher, a good teacher needs a good student. They are incomplete without each other, and in this placement there is a very strong possibility that that might also happen. What could be the tricky situation? I again do not anticipate any negative scenario in this, because it's a 5 to 5 fifth in the ninth house connection, a very positive connection in itself. Now when the fifth lord is moving into the 10th house, it is going 6 places away from itself. Dharm lord is going into the Arth Kendra. It's a Raj Yog. It's a Raj Yog where you will find absolute fame. Again, all strong attributes. Your profession, your karma is going to be in alignment with the education, with the learning that you've had in your life. You've absorbed those skills through your life. You've been carrying those attributes throughout your past life, and now you are going to be delivering and showcasing it to the world as well. I see that some of the smartest, wittiest politicians would have this kind of a connection as well. Some of the most articulate politicians would have, because 10th house is people as well, the masses, public service. And some of the most strong, principled, strong willed people will have this kind of a profession. You could be working for the government as well, or in public services, healthcare, public administration, city administration, and things like that. And again, very, very detail oriented, highly creative. You want to do good for the masses and you want to think differently. So, apart from looking at Sun and Saturn, if you are exploring any kind of government profession, you must see a connection between 5th and 10th house. But remember, it is going 6 places away from itself. 6 places away from itself is going to carry all the obstacles, competition, challenges, delays, health concerns. So you will find that in your karma, there is a natural delay that will also come into play. You will face fierce competition, and guys, you will be good. You will be good, great fighters. You would want to take up challenges, but you will face fierce competition in your life if you have this kind of a placement. Anything and everything you want to do for the greater good would see, people uh, obstructing it, creating unnecessary problems for you, and you will have to fight to overcome before doing that good. It's going to be a hard journey from that perspective. But it is a Raj Yoga. You are destined to do this, and it is a positive connection overall in my mind again. Your profession is going to be, because from a 10th house perspective, you look at your profession, right? And from a profession standpoint, again, it is going to be something that you like always knew. Some of us, we struggle to figure out what we want to do in life. In your case, you are the people who always knew that they want to do this, that there is an inner calling for this job, for this work. And if you've not figured it out yet, guys, deep inside that is there. You have to just unearth it. It is there with you guys. When I talk about professions in my readings, I tell people that there are multiple professions possible in our charts, because so many planets, they keep bringing their elements into play. It is the dashas that matter a lot, the yogas, the combinations that matter a lot into what would work for you and what would not. But this connection will be a staunch supporter of the righteousness, the creativity, the investment strategy, all those professions get aligned in this way. Now, when the fifth lord is moving into the 11th house, it is going 7 places away from itself, bang opposite, 180-degree to itself. And it is going to be aspecting its own house, its own self. 11th house, as I say, it is an Upachaya house. It grows with a period of time. It's a representation of the gains that you're going to be making. It's a representation of your wish fulfillment, the income, whatever your desires you have in life, fulfillment of those desires. So the first and foremost thing that happens in this case is that your desires in itself will be very pure, very true, honest. We as humans, we tend to have desires of all sorts, all kinds of thoughts come to our mind. But in your case, dharma is again connecting with calm. But this will be a positive connection, because what would happen is that you would dream or aspire of things which are legitimate. And you will be able to accomplish them as well. You are going to fulfill them. Your focus would be to, a lot of you would have uh, interest in pursuing your creative endeavors and then achieving them as well. Just as I was telling in the case of the fifth lord in the second or the first, or in fifth itself, same is going to happen in the 11th as well. It's going to represent your elder siblings. So you could have very strong traditional mindset, elder brother or sister, old school, old way of thinking. They would have a very fixated mindset, and you might follow their footsteps. It's like Lakshman to Ram. That is also seen from this placement. It is a representation of your friend network. So the quality of people that you invite in your circle is also going to be very similar to your nature. Peace loving, kind, simple people. Remember, it is 7 places away. So it is the world, the collaboration, the outside network, even the marital connection. So you getting the spouse of your choice is highly possible with this connection. You making the right partners in the space of business, in terms of your friend network, attracting like-minded people would happen when you have the fifth lord in the 11th house. And it is going to grow over a period of time. Your spiritual attitude would also grow. Your creativity will grow over a period of time. You are going to benefit from the education that you pursue. You could actually also see your son-in-law or daughter-in-law from this. So they could be the one who bring in a lot of success in your life, lot of positivity to your family, to your kids in their life. When this placement is there, it is good for your kids as well. They will be able to achieve their goals, their ambitions in life if you have this kind of a placement. It is, even the malefic planets tend to do well when they are in the 11th house. And I have been repeating that most of the times it's a good situation to be in, unless and until some bizarre aspect of some planet comes into play and you are running through some dashas and antardashas, which could create certain problems. But remember, we are assessing this planet's placement into the other. Whenever you encounter something negative, it is not necessary that this planet in itself is causing it. You have to see what yogas are creating that issue. Now, when the fifth lord is moving into the 12th house, 12th house is the house of isolation. It is the house of hospitalization, jails, bed pleasures, sleep. It is the house of moksha. And in this case, the connection is 8th from itself. Hidden, sudden, unexpected. And this can be very, very tricky. Trickier part comes early to my mind. It could lead to loss of character. It could lead to you pursuing multiple relationships, having different kinds of affairs, spending money to do things that I'm not comfortable talking over this video, but you could develop those kind of habits as well. You could, any negative habit that you can think of, there is a very strong possibility that you can acquire that, unless you have a good planet like a Jupiter. Venus is good in the 12th house mostly. In the sign of Pisces, it gets exalted, right? So unless and until it's a soft planet, a benefic planet, there is a even a mild malefic like a sun could give those kind of traits. Highly possible. Life could be led in isolation. You, like, right from your early growth stages, you would prefer to be a loner, to be with yourself. Now this is on the positive side, where you want to, you know, use that me time to bring in your creativity to create something good. That's also possible. That is what you may want to do, to use that me time for. You want to use that me time to do that research, to draw that painting, to compose that music. So it has a positive element to it, but the negative elements would always exist because of the eighth connection. And I know a lot of times people tend to ping, hey, it's not seen in my life, it is not me. Have you lived your entire life? There are things you will do that you've not imagined or you've not done yet. And there are things we never do once we learn from our mistakes or we learn from our chart. It's seen both ways, guys. So before jumping into any conclusion, positive or negative, try and assess what are the combinations, what are the dashas, and how it is going to make you do. And now that you've learned this, you have to understand that you have to address that eighth connection. You have to address your dharma, trikon lord, doing the right things. Devote that time into research, devote that time into maybe occult, even sleep if need be, than immersing yourself into something not so good that your conscience would not appraise of later. So guys, I hope you've liked this video. You've understood what it is like to have fifth lord in all the houses. If you have, please smash that like button and subscribe to my video. I really appreciate your support, your great comments. If there's something that I'm not doing right, I recommend you to please drop a comment in a constructive way and tell me, Dev, how you can do better. And I would love to improve and create much better videos as we walk into the future. Thank you. Om Namah Shivaya. God bless you.